Ladies and gentlemen and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Being Trans, the Darkest Timeline. I am Amanda. To my left is Lilith Elektra, and below me there is Emily Kalen. Hello, ladies. How are you today?
Good as
I'm
can be.
great.
Yeah, I'll bet. Aren't
Yeah,
we all just doing
I'm
fucking super right
great.
now?
So I made a comment yesterday. I was at a potluck with a bunch of community and local community members and stuff like that. There were people asking each other how you doing, and it was great to hear a lot of honest answers. I'm like, I'm okay. Like, a lot of people that there was a lot more honesty than the usual, like, I'm good, where you just kind of skip over
Yeah,
everything that you've got going on. Like everybody's feeling more comfortable admitting that, like, I'm not great. I'm not fucking
great.
great right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where I'm at. It's like at the grocery store. It's like I have my checkers that I go to that I'm friends with, and it's like I go to their. That's how I choose lines at the grocery store, by the way, which I recommend to you. It's like I know a lot of people go to try to get the shortest line. That's the incorrect way to go to the grocery store. The correct line to get into is the line with the checker you like the most. That's the way to do it, and that's
Yeah,
how
of
I do it. It's
course.
just like I don't care what the line is. You're gonna wait in line no matter what. Doesn't matter. Just go in and then get the checker you like. Anyway, and then I talk to them, and that's what they ask inevitably is, "Oh, how are you?" And I'm just like, "I'm fucked up. This shit sucks." And they're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
They're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Yeah,
it does.
I know." Like, and that
It
gives
really
them permission to be
sucks.
honest too, and that's nice.
Yeah. Isn't that
Yeah,
great when you do that and you share something honest and then like they're like, oh wait, I can be honest too. And I love those interactions. That's great. I
yeah.
would I would say I love so I live nearish enough to Amanda that I went to her house with some other folks for
We did. We had a soiree.
for a night. There was a ton of wine, and it
So
was
we
it was
drink
sort
a
of
lot
this
of
show.
wine.
It was just all darkest timeline stuff, and prepping to leave and all these sort of things. And then at some point the night got kind of quiet, and Amanda said, I asked about something, and Amanda said that she had a karaoke machine, and I'm like, let's freaking do it. And so the night shifted to karaoke, dancing, and us just being drunk idiots, and was amazing. It was a
It was
really
a lot of
fun night.
fun. Yeah,
I was
I enjoyed it.
I was really happy how we were able to talk about the real stuff, to get dark and talk about all of that, which we'll cover more of today. And then and then just turn it into a really fun night. So it was good
Yeah.
time.
It was good times. I had a lot of fun. We all wish you were there, Lilith. We poured a bottle of wine out for you.
A whole bottle? Don't
No,
waste wine.
we didn't pour
Don't
out
do
any
that for
wine at all.
me.
We didn't do it like that. It was like it wasn't even we didn't even symbolically do it, to be honest with you. Like it was like we didn't even want to do
Yeah, just pour it down your gullet.
Yeah.
We're
that.
Yeah.
gonna
We just
drink this
drank it.
one.
We
I
drank it. We did
poured
drink a
one
lot of
out into here.
wine.
Yeah.
There were
That's
five of
perfect
us, and
there.
I think we went through 6 bottles. So we each had, if you average that out, a little more than a bottle apiece. But I don't. I feel like I drank more than some of the other
Dang.
people in that room. So I
Uh,
I
don't think
I
that's an
I'd
even
go through a whole
dispersal.
bottle. I'd go through a whole bottle when things were going good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to imagine how much I'd drink if I had it around now.
Well, back
Um,
in my proper drinking days when I was like drinking pretty regularly, like my kind of like my standard when like it would be like a bottle and about a bottle and a third was like where I wanted to be. That was like
yeah.
because if I got through a whole bottle, it like wasn't quite enough, and I was just like, I'm close. I'm close, but like I need like one more glass, like
not quite
one
where I
more
need to be.
glass. Like, and it was just like, but that always sucked because it was just like, okay, so now I got to open a whole other bottle, and I know I'm not going to get through a second bottle because that was too much for me. Like even
Mhm.
then, there he is. Oh, look at that! Look at that fella.
He's darkest
Oh,
time. Yeah.
He's
this
Oh,
just
is
a
he's
cool
biting my
dude.
finger. This is fear.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
this
He
is
is.
so
He's
Arr.
my
appropriately named
buddy.
for this
Hello,
stream.
Fear, you little sweetheart.
All right, you can go.
He's out of here. He's like, fuck this.
Fear is as excited to be here as we all are.
Well, he comes in and he walks around my legs and wants me to scratch him, but the minute you pick him up, he's like, "That I don't want that from you."
Yeah. Yeah, he was so fun to play with because every time he was always laid by the bottom of the stairs, and every time I had to go, I had to stop and play with him for like 10 minutes and just like, just beat the shit out of my hand and rip it to shreds, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. It's like my favorite thing to do with cats is just to have them chew on it and like ah.
He
And
does
that's
do that.
funny, like the weird. It's like I know you. we I feel like I know I'm a true like a predator mammal when like I get on with a predator on that level. It's like because like if you think about it, like cats are like the only reason they're not the most terrifying thing in the world is because we're bigger than them. Like
Yeah.
a house cat like is the most well engineered killing machine I have
It's a killing
ever seen.
machine.
Like and like
Yeah.
That's
the
all he's
things
here
that they
for.
attack are 1/20th of their size. And can you fucking imagine like what it must be like to like, I mean, they had that whole they had a whole movie about it. We were talking about The Secret of Nim, where
Mm.
like it was from the perspective of mice and like how they had to like survive with cats like like being a factor in their lives and how they like survived, and like that was the whole show.
What was that cat's name? That cat was so evil. It was the big bad. And yeah, it was just like
Yeah, I don't
they made
remember.
it look so evil. Well, the owl was pretty scary too, but
The whole movie was like wild. That's what we got when we were kids. We got like dark shit. We got that the Dark Crystal. Like my parents showed me the Dark Crystal when I was like 6. Like it was like,
sucking
yeah, it was
people's
like
essence out of them and just leaving them
Yeah,
like
just
yeah,
leave
that
him.
was just
Just
like,
leave
oh, here
him.
you go. Here's that. Like, yeah, I got to see the first Nightmare on Elm Street when I was like 7. You know, it's like that was like normal. That's just how we got. We got so like we just got bombarded with the darkest shit when we were kids. Like
yeah,
it
and I
was
think
like
you're like 2 or 3
crazy.
years younger than me. So like I still would have
I don't
seen
think so. I
that at
think we're
a
pretty much the same age.
yeah, we're close, but still yeah, I would have seen it at a ridiculously young age too, because I did see it as well. And yeah, that would have been at most maybe 10. Like
Well, what's even wilder about that for me is my parents were Jehovah's Witnesses at the time. And so I grew up Jehovah's Witness. And so they wouldn't let me watch lots of things. There were lots of things that were off limits, like the Transformers. I wasn't allowed to watch the Transformers or G.I. Joe or anything like that because it was like too violent. But then they showed me The Secret of Nim and like and the Dark Crystal and Nightmare on Elm
Dark,
Street and the
Dark Crystal's Jim
Terminator.
Henson. That's for
yeah, it's
kids. What are you
Muppets.
talking
It's
about?
fun.
Yeah,
It's
it's
good.
Labyrinth,
Muppets.
you know, that's cool. You know, I mean, yeah, it's like all right. Like yeah, there were so many things I wasn't allowed to see that I had to like sneak off to my friend's house to see, and like we would lie about stuff, and like we would lie about what we, you know, because you're kids, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Like, but like yeah, it was just wild. Like
I
it's like
didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. I was
you
completely
never lied,
controlled.
you never
No.
told a lie ever.
Ding.
Oh
George
God.
fucking Washington
Yeah, I
over here.
wish. I'm sorry. Am I the only one who had parents who beat them? Like, seriously. Sorry, didn't mean to bring the room down, but
No, no,
yeah,
I got
like,
hit. I mean, my
oh
parents
my
weren't
That's the
God.
shitty
show.
about it.
That's the show,
We're in
everyone.
the darkest
Yeah, we're in the
timeline. We can
darkest
talk
timeline.
about the
We're not
darkest
shying away
past
from this
too.
stuff. Yeah, my parents they spanked me and stuff, and they did some stuff, but they like didn't hurt me.
I
Like
don't know where my parents got the shit they hit me with. My dad had these sticks that were like, they were like super thin and then like
proper switch. Yeah,
they were like flat. And
I got
then
the
he
belt.
also one day he came home with like an actual leather strap, and I'm like, where do you know someone who works at like a furniture reupholstery place? And they're just like, we got some scrap leather if you want to hit your kids with it. He's like, yeah, give it, let me have it.
Where did you grow up where they had a children's discipline store? Jesus.
Yeah, I
Milwaukee.
know, right? They're like, come on down to Hank's Children Discipline Store. We got wooden
Milwaukee's
spoons,
fucked
we got
up.
wooden sticks, we got pieces of trees with the leaves cut off.
Our
I
wooden
mean,
spoons are guaranteed not to break.
My grandma had a wooden spoon. She called it the Persuader,
My
which I kind of appreciate.
one of my favorite memes in my family. It was a story that my mom tells frequently. My grandfather called, and he could hear the middle brother screaming in the background, And he asked, like, what's going on? And my mom says, oh, nothing. I was just cleaning out his ears. And he said, what do you do that with? And she said, a wooden spoon.
What?
Yeah.
Jesus.
No, my brother was a complete asshole as a little kid. And so she had just gotten done making him listen, opening his ears by swatting him on the ass with a wooden spoon.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
get it.
but like
I get it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got the wooden spoon. I definitely got
Ah,
the wooden spoon. Yeah,
Yeah.
wooden spoon.
I
But the
only got
belt
the
was the
wooden
main
spoon when I
one.
was older. That only happened when I was older. When, like, yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't a frequent thing.
no, I was a good kid.
I wasn't. It was like in every kind of trouble you could think of. Like I was like, I mean, my dad and I like had like a spy battle when I was a teenager where like it was like a cold fucking war where like he would like bug my fucking phone and I knew he was bugging my phone. So like I would like work around that. And like it was just our shit got escalated like real spy
Wow.
versus spy shit. And it was wild. I mean, that's how he busted me when I was doing acid. That's how I found that out, is because like he was like, I was like, he found out he like my parents called me in for like they had sat me down and they were looked all concerned and were worried. And they were like, hey, we need to talk. And I was like, I had no idea what I did wrong. And I was just like, what's going on? Why am I in trouble now? Because it wasn't like an abnormal thing for me to be in trouble with my parents. Like it was like, okay, I don't know what I did, but I sat down and like they're like, are you doing drugs? And I was just like, well, yeah, I smoke marijuana. It's like, yeah, I
Gross.
smoke weed. Like, you know that. Like, it's like, and then they're like, yeah, but what about like, no, we mean like hard drugs. And I'm just like, no. And then my dad, he didn't say anything. He just like pulled out a tape recorder and pressed play. And it was a conversation I had with my acid buddy talking about the trip we'd went on and like how we were gonna score our next batch of fucking Felix the Cats.
Wow.
And like and like yeah, and it was just like, and I was just like, oh, I didn't have a
Oh,
fucking word to say because I was just like, that's getting busted on a level that like it's like, well, I can't deny that. That's rock ass
that's
solid evidence.
crazy.
Yeah, and so,
That
but
is
from then
crazy.
on, I knew that that was the case, so I had to work around that, and so it was just like it got escalated and just went crazy, and so like yeah, it's like it was a wild time.
Yeah, now I just picture like code breaker type stuff where like you're constantly talking in code and having to
Codes.
change it to like
We did have to do
avoid
that.
the
We
ciphers.
changed. That's exactly what we did because it wasn't just me. My sister, both my sisters were dropping acid too, and so like okay, so yeah, we changed it to a square meal.
Square meal.
Were
Yeah,
were
it's
you
like
the only one that
I
got
can get a
busted though?
square meal, like
The question though, were you the only one that got busted in the
I
drug
was the only
ring?
one that got busted. Yeah. No, my sister was the president of Dare. Like,
Of
Nice.
course. Yeah.
Nice.
and she would wear like just the most tie-dyed, fucked up psychedelic shit. And she would come home with like the Dare propaganda and she would show it to us and we would all just get high and laugh at how shitty it was.
Dare to keep kids off drugs. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I love
Whatever.
the meme, like the drugs are really excellent. You know.
Mm-hmm. And that they are.
They are
This
most
is one of those things
excellent.
where
Do drugs, kids.
I think one of
Smoke
the
weed.
problems is I think the program educated a lot of people about how to do drugs and like what it does
Oh
for you.
yeah, that's like the main thing it
Oh.
did. Because that was the thing. Because I remember, I don't know, I know you, Lilith, you'll remember this. I don't know if they did this where you grew up, Emily, but like in Milwaukee, what they would do is in like middle school, they would bring cops in,
Mhm.
and like these cops would have like actual drugs, like they would have a joint and like a bag of meth and like coke and crack, and like they would show you what it looked like and they would tell you about it. Like, this is how you say no to these things, don't do these things. But all it did was it made everybody curious about all these awesome drugs that we could take.
Plus
Like,
they give them to you for free.
yeah,
They give them to you for free.
they did. They passed them around and it was just like,
No,
I was
drug
like, I
dealers
think
do not
everyone
give
was
people drugs for free.
Right. Well,
I've never
that
been given free drugs.
well that yeah, that idea of like it was in the Halloween candy. You
Yeah,
guys remember the Halloween
yeah.
candy scare?
I
We're like,
spent.
oh, they're putting razor blades in that. Yeah, so you have to check your candy, and it's just like no
Yeah,
one was like they're putting drugs in your Snickers bar.
yeah,
It's
sure.
like no one ever put
I spent
drugs
all
in
this money on
candy.
drugs, and now I'm gonna
Yeah,
give
I
it to
spent
some kid.
thousands of dollars to and made fake candy to like give to kids just to fuck kids up. It's like drugs are expensive. You want them for
Yeah,
yourself.
Mhm.
put them in the canapes at like a Republican fundraiser, and maybe let them enlighten themselves a little bit.
It's like there's like an episode
Just
of
like
Barney
200 of
Miller.
them coming to the realization that they're assholes all at the same time.
Well, it's so funny too, going back to like the premise of why Dare was a little misguided. Um, I was probably a sophomore in high school when that program started to hit really big. So my brothers went through it in middle school, but I missed it. And
I
I
was the
I
year they
never
started it the year after me.
I never knew anything about drugs. I never knew anything.
Me
Like I didn't
neither.
know what pot was, how to find it. I knew I had plenty of friends that did it. I don't even remember if I knew what it smelled like. Because I don't know that they came to class high. But like I knew absolutely nothing. I didn't know where to get it. I didn't know what any of it did. I was sure I wasn't interested, but like I knew nothing about it. And so like I avoided it entirely. And all these kids that they're like teaching about this stuff are like you said, yeah, it makes them curious and like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm older than both of you, and like we completely miss that stuff. And I was a Milwaukee kid, so I was drinking in high school, and
Yeah.
drugs were not
Yeah,
on
you
my
start drinking
radar.
at 14 in
Yeah,
Milwaukee.
it's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
that's the rule.
that's the rule.
You gotta do it.
I drink at a 14th grade level.
Yep. I was late to that game. I didn't really start drinking until I was 16, but like like I turned 16 and it was just like I hit everything. Just like bap 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 bap. And
I
like
will
I didn't do like the hard stuff. It was just it was acid and X. And that's what you call Molly now. It's like it was called ecstasy back in the day, but like it's
Back when I
shrooms.
was a young,
You must have done
when I
shrooms.
was a kid. Oh yeah, acid shrooms, mushrooms,
Oh,
acid
okay.
mushrooms,
I didn't do any of
ecstasy.
that till I
It's
was in
all
my
just the
40s.
hallucinogens is what
Okay.
I stuck to. I didn't do like heroin or meth or anything like that. I was never into that stuff. Like, I mean, then like later on when I got older, like I got into coke like for like a minute,
Mm,
but then I realized I just don't like it very much and it's kind of just ugly and shitty. It's like
I heard that
I
one's
like
rough.
well, it's what it is. Like it's I always kind of thought like I think a good analogy for Coke is like the Super Bowl. It's like it's 99% hype and then the reality of it just is like kind of stupid.
Oh,
Like it's
I think
like the
maybe
hype is there.
I
Yeah.
take Coke just for the commercials.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I mean like that's the idea is like it kind of my rule for like even like deciding on whether or not I was interested in a drug at all was based on the art that came out of it. And like, and so it was like the music and the art that came out of it. And so it was like, well, acid was fucking awesome because all the best fucking shit came out from acid. And then like, but I really, really fucking like Coke rock. Like it's one of my favorite genres. Like, and so it's like, Coke rock is fucking rad. And so like, but like and so I was like I was curious about it but like I never really was that into the stuff that came out of that was heroin music. Like I mean I like a lot of it like now. Like I'm not interested. I don't do heroin and I'm not interested in heroin, but like it's like but I mean I like at the time I wasn't that that was not it did not suit my aesthetic was like heroin art like and then I don't know what and then like there was meth music and I didn't like any of that either. It's like that was like the Chemical Brothers and like fucking Prodigy and all that shit.
Oh,
Like and
wow. Okay.
yeah, and like it, you know, the
Hmm.
hardcore, like really fast, like Jesse Pinkman music. Like it's like they got that right.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I started drinking at 21.
Aww.
Oh.
And I've only ever done a little bit of, I've only, tried smoking pot here and there. We did have some edibles one time. Never had a good experience with any of it. So it's just
I
like, it's
hate
fine.
edibles.
But the first time I was drunk, I think I was 4. That was sort of my thing.
Wow.
Like the little kid going around to a parent's party, back in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
70s, early 80s, the parents had cocktail parties, and the
Oh,
little
yeah, they
kid
did.
goes around and asks for sips here and there before you know what, the kid is plowed.
Gets
And
plowed.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
passed out in my wagon in the garage.
Yeah, I don't know how people take weed like at parties and stuff because it just makes me go to sleep. So I just have
It makes me
gummies to
antisocial. It
I'm
gives
just
me
like, I'm going to
anxiety.
sleep. I'll see you.
Yeah, it
Um,
just makes me want to not be around people. That's what weed
yeah.
does to me now. It's like I got the fear in like 2003, and it's just like it kind of lingered. Now I can smoke weed, like, and then I quit smoking weed altogether for like a good chunk, like a good 10 years, and then I like kind of weaned myself back into it. And now I don't really smoke it very much at all. But like, when it's the appropriate time, like if I'm sitting around, I'm making a mix or something, or I just want to listen to music and chill out, but it's almost always when I'm by myself. Like, very rarely do I want to smoke weed in any kind of social situation. And the exception would be that, like, my closest friends and a small group of them. Like, but like,
Small
yeah, at a
elite
party,
group
like,
of
you gotta be fucking
associates.
kidding me. Yeah, you gotta be kidding me. Which is like the opposite of coke, which is like a total party drug. Like, which is like, because I kind of figured out what it does. Because the high's not really that good. Like the thing with cocaine that I kind of figured out was like, and this is my theory on it, or my theory, my hypothesis. This is my guess, kind of at what it actually does, because it was like it's kind of a very subtle high. It's like you're there and you're definitely high, but you don't. It's not like it doesn't. It's not readily apparent like what it is, but what it does do is it gives you confidence like you've never like everything you say is cool and correct, and you feel great about yourself. And
What drug
I'm a
is this?
person.
Yeah, you're
Cocaine.
like really giving a TED talk here.
No, well, because this is what I pieced together from it. And because for someone like me who's naturally confident, like I don't need cocaine to be confident and to talk a lot. Like, I just do that. That's not really how I. So when I do coke, it's just I watch myself like saying things that I shouldn't say, and like I can't control my mouth running off, and even worse than it is now. Like, and but like for someone that's shy or that's like introverted or isn't good in social situations, I could see how they would love that and get really into it. And like, because like for me, it was like I've done coke like I had like a 2-3 year period where it was like in my life, and then after a while I was like, yeah, I don't really like this all that much, and then I just kind of stopped doing it. Like, but yeah, I mean, I get it, because that's it, because it is, it's powdered confidence, like it's what it does.
Let's
So
let's
careful with the
acknowledge
coke, y'all.
let's acknowledge some chat a little bit. We got some fun stuff going on in the YouTube chat, and hi to Mira, who just joined us over on Twitch.
Hello.
So uh Drace Schneider says, I've always wondered why a nutritious meal is called a square when most plate meals are served more or less round. I love that one.
Yeah.
About the giving putting the myth of putting drugs in candy bars is like, these are mine, go buy your own, and that's
Go
from
buy your own.
Alexis.
That was like,
Um,
yeah, that was like the Twix ads from the 90s. It's like two for me, none for you. Like
none for you.
when like snack commercials got really selfish in
Fucking
like
aggressive.
1997. Like, yeah, it's like, yeah, get your own bag was like the tagline for Doritos.
But that's when
Like,
Extreme came out. Everything was
yeah,
Everything was
everything
extreme
was
and just
extreme.
like
extreme and like,
raw, and
yeah.
that's where we got all the shock jock bullshit. Like, it was all
Hmm.
that same era of just like fucking
I
machismo.
mean, looking
Dick.
back, it doesn't surprise that we are. It's not a surprise that we are where we are.
And that is a
It's just like,
wonderful, wonderful segue, because that is right in line with a post that I wanted to make. I don't think I can make it. I don't
yeah,
think I can actually put it out, but um,
I'll put it out if you send it my way.
seeing all this stuff about and credit Emily.
Yeah.
This is something Emily was going to post. But seeing all this stuff about your body, my choice, and all this crazy sexist, misogynist stuff ramping up, and the post that I put together some pictures of that kind of stuff from tweets and things like that, and then underneath it I said, for all of those that are surprised to hear this, just kind of remember that we have an article of clothing called a wife beater.
Yeah.
Any society that makes fun and makes light of that horrible treatment of women, it's not a surprise that we would end up where we are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a surprise to me at all. I've been shouting this as loud as I could for the last 30 years. And it's frustrating, watching it. And even at that party that you were talking about, that when we had people over, it was even, I had to I said my piece and then I had to shut up because people don't want to hear it. They're like, I don't want to. It's I know. And then we had our friend who I won't mention, but she was there and I hadn't seen her in a while. And she's just yeah, I'm not going anywhere. It's I'm staying and I'm dealing with it. So I'm going to fight. And it's and there's a part of me that's what, good for you. That's awesome. But then there's the realistic part of me that's I don't think you really understand what you're up against. And I don't want to argue that point to someone's face and try and convince them that they're wrong about this
Mm.
and argue the fight out of them. But I think a lot of people are really underestimating just how bad shit is gonna get. And you it's already starting. You can see the things that are already on the horizon and the way things are gonna go. And like you said, the wife beater thing, but then the things that you were gonna talk about, which is that phrase, your body, my choice going around. And it's just this is the beginning of that. That's going to be the predominant culture that's amplified by media and backed by the federal government and heralded as the correct way to think about things.
Yeah.
And so that's just that aspect of it. That's one aspect of it that's going to get so fucking bad.
Mhm.
And so I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So
that.
a couple things have come up. So Nick Fuentes, who's a right wing, basically he's a white supremacist. I don't know
Yeah.
where he comes from. I'm sure
He's
Lilith
been
is.
around for a while. He's
Yeah.
just an open white supremacist Nazi, neo-Nazi. He's one of the main guys.
But I don't know why I know that name. I don't know why he's risen to some kind of prominence.
Because he was right there with Richard Spencer, until Richard Spencer got this fucking shit clocked on TV, and then everyone, then he fucking shut up. Which, for the record, punching Nazis works because Richard Spencer got fucking decked on video, and he disappeared after that. So yeah, fuck that dude, and
Yeah.
punch your local Nazi. Feel free.
Have you punched a Nazi today?
Yeah, have you done your duty, your civic duty?
But anyways, yeah, he recently said, in response to some of the backlash that's coming up from women, your body, my choice.
Mm-hmm.
Just basically saying, and there's this rape not in a UGHT thing that people are throwing around too, as squads of men that are going to be hunting women. Yeah, so that's come up, and I don't know where in the timeline things fall, but there's also a big movement, and this might have come first on social media, called 4B, which is actually from
That, yeah.
Korea. Is that
It's Korean?
North Korea?
South
I
Korea.
think it's
No,
North
nothing
Korea.
comes from North Korea. They don't let anything out.
Oh, they might. Okay, so but anyways,
Women are
where,
making less choices in North Korea.
It's
okay.
It's all that comes out from North Korea is the best.
Yeah. So okay, so maybe it's South, but anyways,
All hail
they had
Victoria's
a
Supreme Leader.
they had a big misogynist shift in their culture as well, and the women in response started this 4B, and the way it translates phonetically, the 4 words start with B that are dating, sex, marriage, and I forget what the other one was. So there's four of them, but basically just shutting it down and
Yeah, just like,
not
yeah, we're not going to have anything to do with men at all. We're going to
yeah,
be
not dating
lesbians.
or have
We're not going to date men. We're not going to have sex with men. We're just
yeah.
not going to associate with them. Like, and it's here's the problem with that is that is going to happen, and that's already starting to happen, and they're just going to make that illegal. Like they're going to respond to it in kind, like they
Oh,
respond to everything else they don't like, but they're going to
also,
be making gay illegal anyway. So it's
also,
like,
also 51% of white women voted for Trump anyway. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And this is one of the things we were going to talk about today, like, right? I've heard it a lot. I've heard it from some people that are usually pretty calm and all of that, and pretty like, sort of let it be. There are so many people that are excited to watch America burn and watch these people that voted this way get their due. We're all going to suffer
I got
from it,
part of
but
that. Like, there's a part of the show on Fraud for me where it's like, yeah, I am gonna watch some fucking Trumpers get fucking burned, and I'm not gonna feel bad for them. I'm not especially like rooting for them to suffer, but like there is a part of me that is. Like it's like you fucking did this, you dumb asshole. Fuck you. And I do want them to suffer for it, like because they've they've wrecked the fucking country. They destroyed America. Like and I always have had my problems with it, but like I always was like, this can be salvaged, this is a place that can be fixed, like whatever's wrong with this can be repaired, and we can do better. And I don't feel like we can come back from this. I don't think that there's going to be a change. There's no way to get through this that isn't violent and war. And the only and when the dust and if that happens, and when that happens, and if we survive it, when the dust settles, we're not going to have the same thing no matter what. It's not that the Constitution's done. Like that's going
oh
to go
yeah,
away. Like no semblance of this is going to be left. So like this is the last 2 months of what we understand America to be, and then it's gone forever. And
yeah.
for some people that's a good thing, like, and I get that, like I get that, like I because there's a part of me that it's like, wow, fuck this country, like it's like I get it, like I felt that way many a time. But then there's the reality of like, it's like, well, I've never been a fan of the accelerationist thing. I was like, it's got, because I hear a lot of the talk of that, especially on the deep left, on the hard left. It's like, well, we have to, like, let's just end it now, and we're gonna have to go through hard times no matter what. There's no way we can do this without. I mean, I had optimism that we could do it through policy, and I was wrong. Like, it didn't work.
Well,
And
it's like we've been talking about. There's so much societal systemic bullshit that's going on with like I said, like we have an article of clothing called the wife beater. We have all of the we had a whole wave in the 90s of this extreme shock jock, misogynist crap. Joe Rogan. We've got all these people that are just absolutely lauded out there in our
Fox
society, and
News.
and it's like yeah, there's a lot at the core. We have this belief, and I think a lot of it's just kind of what we've been the propaganda we've been fed since we were kids, but that America is the greatest country, and all of these things, and it never has been.
yeah,
And we're seeing it come to fruition, all of the bad stuff. But
yeah,
yeah, there's just so much. And where I lose the most hope is the numbers again, the amount of people that voted for this, that this is what they want, or what they think they want, or they're willing to ignore the things they don't like to try and get the things they want.
Yeah.
And it's just like those three things are
And are
all really
confused
bad.
about what they're going to get, and like didn't see this. I mean, this is the same thing with my sister, who's like a Trumper Christo-fascist turf, and like she's completely blinded by it. And she's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like you, like she's a devout Christian and believes in the teachings of the Christ, and sees Donald Trump and doesn't see the fact of like that he's literally the worst human being who's ever lived, very possibly. Like, just like it, like has zero redeeming characteristics. The furthest thing you could get from a Christ-like figure.
Mhm.
Like, and like, and that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter to her. Like, she just like, oh no, but he's does good for the economy. He's his foreign. I like his foreign policy because she's part QAnon and she's part Christian and like she's all the things that suck shit. And like, this is why like I'm getting a lot of like satisfaction from, I've mentioned it before, from this show, this YouTube show that I watch called like The Line, which is like, it's a bunch of different shows.
We need
AP
to get them to
Experience,
sponsor us
Talk
with the
Heathen.
amount that you mentioned them.
Yeah, I know, but I love them because it's
Yeah.
great. Because what it is it's a talk, a call-in show where they're called theists, people that believe in God, call up atheists, and the premise is simple. It's like, hey, we're not saying that God's not real. We just haven't been convinced. So convince us, you know? And so people call up and they try to convince these scientists, these doctors, these astrophysicists, these biblical scholars that are all atheists, and try and convince them, and just perpetually watching them fall flat on their faces, like just making fools of themselves. And like, none of them can ever have a remotely cogent argument because there isn't one. Like, you can't justify this. Like, and but the problem that I have with it, like, because I'm also an atheist, like, and I go for so far to say I'm an anti-theist. I think, especially with the Christian God, is a real fucking problem. That dude's a piece of shit, and like, I'm glad that's not real because that's horrible. But like, but the thing is it's not, there's an argument that can be made that's like, well, you can, like, what's the problem with letting people believe what they want if it makes them feel good? Which is a lot of times that's an argument that people will come with. And the problem is that, is if you can believe in the story of the Holy Bible, then you can fucking believe anything. And if you're willing to dismiss reality and what you know about reality on the level that you think that there's a man that lived that was born of a virgin and is his own father, and he magicked himself out of death to make an excuse, so to forgive people for the thing that he did in the first place, like, and you can justify that, and you can think that not only is that not crazy but real, and that everything else since then is a trick to try and convince people that that didn't happen because it's Satan, like, then you can fucking believe anything, and hence Donald Trump. Like, and so, like, this is how you get there. Donald Trump didn't succeed because he was a great orator or because he had great ideas or even because he tapped into something. He succeeded because he's a con man that told people what they wanted to hear, like, and people believe him like they believe in God. Like, and it's the same thing, it's the same cognitive dissonance, it's the same, well, I only see the things that I like, I look past the bad things. Like, it's like, and that's, to me, the ultimate problem with any theology or dogma is that is like, is it trains you to think badly.
Mhm. I think Aaron Sorkin did the best view on that I've ever seen. If you've seen West Wing, there's a scene, and Martin Sheen's President Bartlett character is deeply religious and has a strong level of faith. And there's some turf bigot lady that's coming in and you know, pushing the right-wing agenda stuff, and he really dresses her down with a lot of that stuff, like quoting, you know, like, so when do I need to stone my mother for wearing mixed fabrics, and you know, when, you know, and all of these things, like when I kill my son because he did this, like, do I need to announce it to my town? And I don't remember the quote, obviously, but it is an amazing scene. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube.
I've seen it. I've seen the
And
clip. Yeah, I know. I'm
and
familiar with it.
you know, there's a very different thing from being spiritual and believing in a higher power and even God and believing what is in the Bible. And that yeah, I agree with you that once you get to the point of that blind faith that they push,
Which is
because
all faith. All faith is blind. It's the definition of faith.
yeah. But the way the Christian religion takes it, where not only blind faith, but then you have to actively ignore things
Mhm.
that don't fit with your narrative.
Well, because none of it makes any sense. Like
Yes.
it's the
Yeah.
book of Genesis is the biggest, stupidest thing you've ever read. If you want to be an atheist, just read the book of Genesis. And like it's just word like sentence after sentence of clearly not true. Like
And then the whole thing of it is that you know, there's just such a big difference with that. And if you get into that where you're already primed for this mindset of ignoring the things that are inconvenient to believe, that you don't want to believe, that don't fit with your narrative, then
Right.
yes, all of the stuff that we have seen happen politically in this country makes perfect sense. Because that is
Exactly what
I
it
exactly
think
is.
what
the
we see.
main
Like,
problem is we have there's a real media problem in this country, and in the 80s, there used to be safeguards and walls put up.
mhm,
One company couldn't own more than one piece of media in a city. And if you remember, I don't know how old anyone's are, but it used to be a city would have two newspapers. It would have a morning, one that came out in the morning and one that came in the afternoon. And they were completely separate. They were owned by separate companies. And sure, the person who owned that had their own agenda, but there was opposite viewpoints.
competition.
You couldn't own local televisions by the button. Now Sinclair owns they'll own all the local television in one market, and so you're going to get their stuff. And the media is owned by the oligarchy. And my real concern in this country is that people right now, even if they didn't vote for Trump, even if they don't believe in Trump, they're going to by summer they're going to be getting a steady diet of
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
propaganda
well, it's gonna be
from
horrible.
all our media. I mean, the Washington Post is owned by how many newspapers refuse to endorse a president?
God, they
How
knew the fix
many?
was in. I
Yeah.
knew it. Like
Well,
that was when I knew the fix was in, was like when they were just like, I'm not gonna say anything. Like I'm not gonna speak out against this. It's like the richest men in the world all knew. Like it's like, nope, this is the way it's going. Like, it's like, oh I can't say for sure. I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you carry on?
it's okay. It's just that it's not the fix isn't in. It's they don't see the writing on the wall. They're putting the writing on the wall. The Washington Post, there's no the idea that CNN or the Washington Post or the New York Times is got some liberal anti-conservative agenda. The New York Times puts out some of the most ridiculous anti-trans stuff. They allow that in their opinion pages for the last 2 years now. So the idea that you're getting your news from anywhere in this country, and that's the thing, like you mentioned earlier, like, well, my friend voted for Trump because of the economy. My friend voted my Trump for this. Like, okay, well, tell me what he did for the economy that you liked. They're like, well, prices went up under Joe Biden. Well, prices went up under Joe Biden because Donald Trump kept interest rates low during the pandemic when they should have been allowed to go up. And then when things returned to normal, you had this spike. You like Trump's foreign policy. There were no wars when Trump, which is ridiculous because he was there for the war in the Middle East, or the war between Israel and Palestine has been going on for forever. So there were no wars under Donald Trump. That's gaslighting. There were
Yeah.
wars under Donald Trump. He dropped the mother of all bombs in Afghanistan and bragged about it, and so you're buying into propaganda. You're not seeing the real side of things. How many of these people even know that Matt Gaetz is accused of raping children and trafficking children? How many of these people understand all of this? And they are in their bubble. And sometimes, you do have the opposition, and CNN will go a little deeper, but you know, CNN normalized Trump. Trump would ramble on for 20 minutes about nonsense, and the question asked was, what are you going to do about healthcare? And then the headline is, Trump outlines healthcare plan. And in reality, all he did, or the famous one where he was asked about childcare, and he rambled on for 15 minutes talking about tariffs. And they're like, well, he laid out his childcare plan. It's like, did he? This has all been normalized, and I think that's what you have to be aware of. Be aware of when you're being lied to, being aware of when you're being false. And this goes both sides. I mean, we've seen it, if you go around and see people posting headlines, and read the story. Don't just believe the headline, because the headlines are meant to spark thing. And
Mm.
also be aware that if you're online, there are there are forces outside the United States that are sowing chaos. And everyone who is in a position to do something about it doesn't want to do something about it, because they're oligarchs and they don't care.
Well, and
They're going to
remember a
get
couple
paid at the
things
end of the
like,
day.
you know, back to something you were saying earlier, like once Fox News, they didn't even turn against Trump. They just reported the fact that he had lost the election. And then Fox News was part of the left-wing media,
Yeah.
the fake media, the fake news media. And then as soon as they went right back in line, then Fox is great, and all of the Trump followers are Fox diehards, Fox News diehards. And it's like, you're doing you're doing the mental gymnastics in these little simple things. But yeah, media in general has been about clicks and views. It's all been about profit. It hasn't been about news. It hasn't been about the good of the country or any good. It's just been about like what is going to get us the views. And a lot of news organizations, the better ones, quote unquote, struggled with that early on. That to get views, they had to report on what Donald Trump was doing, and nobody wanted to do that because, again, he's such a blowhard and he's so full of shit. But to have your media organization survive, they had to do that, and it's just
And
things just got so corrupt.
not even question what was being said. The other thing is, I don't know if you're a YouTube user. One thing that I noticed leading up to the election, I'd go on YouTube and all the recommended shit was Occupy Democrats and this other guy, and all it was is like titles that were like Trump humiliates himself at rally or whatever, and it's all this stuff, and you would go through, and that's all my recommendations would be. And I have not seen anything anti-Trump on YouTube since the election.
I do, but because
I mean, I don't like the guy,
out.
the Midas touch guy or whatever, who would just like, he'd have a video and he would just read a blog post that someone put up, and he'd literally have the blog post on half the screen and him on half the screen. You can see he's just reading it. Shit like that. Occupy Democrats is another one. And all like the one guy who's a lawyer, Brian Taylor Cohen or whatever.
Cohen, yeah.
Yeah. All these guys,
Yeah.
man, it was like
Well, he's just a sensationalist
seven
dude, too.
videos
He's
a day
always,
from them
yeah.
about how Trump's humiliated himself and Trump's on the way down and Trump did this, Trump did that. And now they're nowhere.
He's still there. He's still cranking up the anti-Trump stuff. But
I'm
like,
not getting 18 a day from the group of them.
well, I stopped clicking on them. That's what happens. Is like
That's
YouTube changed their algorithm too,
probably it
because like
too.
they just feed you what you've been clicking on.
I have watched they might
I've
be
tuned out the
giants.
news. Yeah.
They might be giants singing Tub Thumping at the AV offices of the Onion,
There you
7
go.
times last night.
If your YouTube page is filled with They Might Be Giants, you're doing pretty good. Like, that's what I gotta say. If your YouTube page got a bunch of They Might Be Giants, you might be a They Might Be Giants fan.
Let's check in with chat again. Way back in the drug talk, Dre said, I feel like I should be investing in Coke now. Good sales pitch.
No, don't. I fucking Alexis, honestly, fuck it.
Alexis says that everyone keeps telling me I'm overreacting in response to, the election news. And she says, if I were overreacting, I'd already be in Australia. That's super facts. I love that.
Yeah.
We're all going
I
to
don't.
suffer. That, yes, except that's very true. It sounds like it sounds a bit like the Atheist Experience call-in show. I don't
That's
know
what
if
it
you were
is.
talking about this or the line, but
Well,
yeah.
the line covers the atheist experience. It's the atheist experience and Talk Heathen, and Jimmy Snow has a podcast or whatever. It's that group of people like Matt Dillahunty and Jimmy Snow and Forrest Falke and all that. It's those guys. Yeah. Johnny P. Angel, who is my favorite. I strongly recommend watching anything with Johnny P. Angel in it. He's this like gay lawyer, and he's the funniest motherfucker on that show. And he's so good at like taking cheap shots at these assholes and like them not getting it. And it's absolutely like a crack up.
Nice. Mira Featherbender over in the Twitch chat had loved your line, prove God without the Bible, and hence Donald Trump. And then mentioned about the way religion is. They literally have their natural curiosity and critical thinking beaten out of them. And we've talked about this a little bit, I think, on the show last week, about how the goal is to dismantle public education. And they've been trying to send everything to private education because they think that's the whole thing. So you'll be getting school vouchers instead, and then you'll go to private schools because all the public schools will be closed. There will not be room for your child because you don't make the millions that you need to afford to get into those schools anymore because they'll be so impacted. So what will
They're
happen
private
is,
schools, so they don't have to accept everyone. So if you're
right?
gay or
Yeah.
you're handicapped, we don't have to have your kid here either. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's a big part of it as well.
And so what happens, it already happens now. It's a current thing in America, like especially in obviously in rural areas, when there aren't public schools around that are accessible, the churches take that up. The churches are where kids go to school. So most of they're going to get what they want, and most of the kids are going to go to religious schools. So yeah,
They're all going to be
creativity,
religious
critical
schools.
thinking.
Like they're going to make that a thing. Like it's like, I mean, I that's if you, like you said, that's if you can afford it. The alternative is you go to work, like because they've already like Arkansas already made like child labor a thing, and so like that's gonna be, they're gonna all do it. They're just gonna like open that right back up, and so it'll just be a normal thing for poor kids to just have jobs
That
instead of
and
going to school.
you know what? This is the darkest timeline show. Can I get like super dark for a second,
Yeah,
spinning off of
please.
that?
Yeah.
If they're loosening child labor laws, and making it so children can go to work and probably, go to factories, sweatshops, the whole thing, with people like Matt Gaetz as attorney general and stuff like this influencing things, I wonder if they would lower the age of consent.
Well, they already do, and they're in several red states have already done it. Like I think I forget which one it is, but one of the states has the age of consent at 14. I can't remember which one. It's Alabama, or
Arkansas is
is it
14,
Arkansas? Yeah,
and
Arkansas is horrible.
if your parents sign off on it, they can sell you the Steven Tyler. So
I
or
don't know what
Ted
that
Nugent.
means.
Steven Tyler and Ted Nugent both had parents sign over like custody of their underage daughter to them.
I
Oh
didn't know
yeah.
that about Steven Tyler. I'm not at all surprised about Ted Nugent, but like it's like,
If it
oh,
happened in the
I've been
70s,
stealing.
if you told me it happened in the 70s, none of it surprises me.
I guess that's true. I mean, yeah, I can't speak on any of that, but like I mean, it's just at this point, like uh, there's nothing left. I don't think this can be salvaged. And one of the things I just like to point out is like like this isn't just for trans people. Like this is like everyone's gonna have a bad time. And if you think about it, even if you take all the religious persecution that's coming, like all the right-wing, like hard Christo-fascism that's coming, and the theocratic fascism that's going to come, even if you take that out and just eliminate that as a part of the equation, and you just look at what's going to happen with the economy, with labor laws, with not being able to protest, with like civil rights, with abortion access, with contraception being illegal, with QAnon conspiracy theorists put in charge of the Department of Health, Matt Gaetz, a human trafficker, being put in as the Attorney General, like a system that was demonstrably already bad is going to get very much worse. Like the bad things about the United States are going to get amplified, and most of the good things are going to go away. So all those things you take for granted, like unemployment insurance, or like being able to speak your mind freely, like all those things like are going to be, a lot of those things are going to just go away. So then you have that. So the bad things get amplified, the good things go away. And on top of that, they're going to add a whole giant pile of new, really bad things to it. So that's without the fascism and the religious persecution that we also know is coming with this. So, like, I mean, I don't really see where the percentage is in sticking around here. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I already wasn't having a good time in America. I don't know if y'all were having a fucking blast, but I haven't been. Like, it's
As
been
trans
pretty
people.
shitty. Like,
Mhm.
rent ain't gonna get cheaper. There ain't going to be none of that. The idea of rent control is going to go away. So, like, that's not, I mean, that's just one thing. Like, you know, there are at least 30 countries in the world that are pretty much demonstrably better, have better quality of lives than America now. Like, and so like you can stick around and think you're going to fight against theocratic fascism. How many people are fighting against the mullahs in Iran right now? There are people that are doing it, but like, I mean, what's the quality of like over there? Saudi Arabia, like, like how's that going? Any theocracy in the world, look at what it's like. That's what's coming here.
Mhm.
And it's not going to be, no amount of lawyers is going to stop it. Like, no amount of donating to Act Blue is going to do it. No amount of nonviolent resistance is going to do anything, because I would argue that nonviolent resistance never worked ever in all of history. But like, even if you think it did, like, it does require the opposition to have a conscience, which these people do not. Like,
Mhm.
and so like even that, like it's like, okay, good luck. Like, if you went up
Well,
against, yeah, I'll shut up.
well, and there are two things that I've heard about that they're definitely considering doing, like this is highly likely. One is getting rid of Senate approval for government appointees and judges.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Um
yeah.
giving the I don't want to say the word president anymore, because that's not going to be accurate. It's like
Might as well still
calling
call it
Vladimir
that.
Putin a president.
Right.
But yeah, he would have the power to appoint anyone anywhere that he wants without any checks. The Senate is actually, a lot of his cronies in the Senate are actually behind that, taking
Oh yeah.
away their own power to give it all to him. And down that, yeah, there you go, emperor. Down that road, or route, whichever one you want to do, I put them together. The person he's putting in charge of the military, what's the Secretary of Defense?
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Is it Tulsi Gabbard, or is it Marco
No,
Rubio?
Tulsi
So
Gabbard is intelligence, Marco Rubio's Secretary of State. It's the Fox News host, rapist
Yes.
Nazi who's going to be in charge of the Secretary of
oh,
Defense.
good. That's good.
And what that is going to do, they're going to modify the military and put together, I don't remember if it was like a branch or just like sort of a kind of a squad sort of thing. There's going to be a focus of the military for policing, particularly for protests and things like that. So, you know, you're suggesting, Amanda, that violent protest is going to be what's necessary. They're immediately going to call in the military on all protests. Yeah.
Yeah, I just fair warning, you can't out violence the
You can't out
government.
violence the
You can't
United States
out
government. You
violence the
can't
United
do it.
States. No.
You can't do it.
Um,
Like it's and
and
especially
that's
like
all
with
they did.
no
That's
organization, which there isn't any.
I mean, it's just having a group of a military group that's loyal just to the president is classic fascism.
It's called a junta.
Ron
Sounds like a
DeSantis,
word for it.
Ron DeSantis did it in Florida. He built a policing unit that was under him completely for quote unquote election security. You know, we argued about this last week about, you know, Democrats letting one person hold up military promotions for the entire time when they could have just like done the workaround, but they chose to negotiate instead, and they're going to negotiate themselves to death, and
They already did.
whatever.
They did. This is the
They're
death.
worthless.
Themselves and all of us.
They're worthless.
They are dead now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just fascism's greatest hits, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's no joke. Uh like I know I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it because I can't ethically justify not, but it doesn't matter what you've got going on here. You got to get the fuck out. You got to do whatever you can to get the fuck out of here. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't have money. It doesn't matter if you've got ties. None of that shit matters. Like, all that matters is fucking getting the fuck out. This is a sinking ship and you need to abandon it while there's still a way out. While you still can cross the border, you need to cross the border because that'll get shut down too.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know when that's gonna happen. You know, like
It's gonna happen fast, I think.
What I think that the chain of events that'll lead to that is, you know, they're gonna get rid of schools. We'll see teachers fleeing. We'll see doctors fleeing because they're not going to be able to practice actual medicine. They're going to have to follow this religious doctrine that is absolutely anti-science and anti you know, medical fact. So they're either going to have to practice medicine that is not actually helping their patients and go against their Hippocratic oath, or they have to leave.
Under the constant threat of like getting prosecuted if they violate like whatever weird flavor of the month conspiracy theory that they make into law. Like, it's like, I mean, like they're doing with like doctors won't treat like women that are in emergency situations if they're pregnant because of the anti-abortion laws. Like, that's going to be for all sorts of stuff. It's not going to just, and so the doctors are going to be like, I can't do this. I can't do anything because they'll arrest me. Like, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, the doctors are going to leave. I know doctors that are already leaving.
And then, so what's going to happen is there's just going to be this chain of events where people would start leaving the country, and when enough people leave the country, like the economy is going to tank, and the writing's going to be on the wall that the more people that leave, the worse the economy is going to get, and so that's when you'll see the borders shut up, and you won't be able to get out of the country.
Plus the deportations that they're going to do, that they're promising like 20 million people or something. I mean, they're probably not going to do it that many that fast, but like, I mean, they're talking about deporting legal immigrants.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, you know, like Elon Musk, I'm sure, is on that list.
Right. Good God. You wish. So did we talk last week about the prisons that they're building?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But that's another thing I want to kind of get wrapped up. We're at our hour, and like, we said the thing. So if we all got any kind of final thoughts for today, I think tonight,
Yeah,
let's get up.
before we go, I was
Yeah.
hoping to get to, I know that both of you have, I have a loose plan. Both of y'all have varying degrees of concrete plans for leaving the country. Do you have any tips for the process of that? How do you get that started? What are sort of some of the things that you need to remember when you're looking for a place to go? Yeah, just sort of, is there some advice and sort of like a guide we can give people that are
You
interested
know,
in leaving?
I found online where I'm going that I can stay for 6 months as a visitor. And I'm going to Costa Rica. Now, I can also stay because I do have a job that I can work remote that I think you have to make $2,500 a month, which honestly is not a not a
That
not
much
a
money.
breaking the bank, but you have to have that remote job to get in. Um, I also look, I'm a charmed person. Like maybe people just like me, but after the election, I was talking to one of my old bosses and she put me, when I told her that's what we were doing, she put me in touch with someone who's been down there, and that person put me in touch with someone who lives in the US. And they own property and live part of the year in Costa Rica and have gone through this process. And I talked to an immigration lawyer yesterday. And so, yeah, it's about just, originally I'd found a place that I could rent, an Airbnb I could rent for a month in Windsor, which is just right across the Detroit River from me. Um, and then I was going to worry about the rest later. And luckily, like I said, but here's the thing I want to tell everyone, and I wanted to talk to you about this, Emily, because you kind of talked about how you were falling behind on what to do, and it's just like if you only look at where you want to go and what you need to do, you're never going to get it done.
Yeah.
You have to go step
Go
by step. And
first.
I've got a notebook right here next to me that I wrote down everything I have to do, and I cross it off as I do it. And it seems simple, but honestly, it's overwhelming. It's what we're going to go through is overwhelming, and you have to keep your wits about you. And so figure out that plan, finding a place you can stay. What do you have to do this? Like I've just not everyone has the same things. Like I'm basically just bought a house. So I have to try to get rid of that. Luckily for me, the real estate agent says she can sell it. I wouldn't buy it. If I had saw it before I bought it, I probably wouldn't have bought it, let me be honest. But we've bought this in April and now we're completely uprooting our life and moving to another country. So what is it you have to do to be ready? What are the first steps? Here's 1 to 10. Here's what I have to do to get to Canada or get to Mexico or wherever you decide you want to end up. Make that list and make sure you just do it every day. And honestly, it's some of the only peace I get is actually doing some of this work and like making progress. And it's overwhelming. Yesterday I talked to a immigration lawyer and I talked to the real estate agent, and it felt like 1,000 pounds was taken off my back. Now I woke
No.
up this morning with 1,000 pounds on my chest, because I wake up every morning realizing everything that's going around, and it can be disheartening. It can be disappointing to basically just like trying to figure out how to dispose of your life right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's the hardest thing for me is like I have I have some possessions. I'm very much
Yeah.
American capitalist. I have some possessions that I absolutely love, and I was getting pretty depressed looking at the things that I would have to sell. I love my truck. I have a 65 Ford Econoline truck. That is named Hurley, and
Mm.
like there are a lot of things that I just don't want to part with. I never wanted to sell my house. I have a
Yeah.
house in Southern California, like in
Mm.
a beach community.
Yeah.
It's nothing really to write home about, but it's a house in Southern California in a beach community. Like this is something you don't sell, and
You don't sell that. Well, you do now.
it's heartbreaking to think
Now
about
you do.
having to do
Yeah.
some of these things. And luckily I've had the excuse of planning the Trans Day of Remembrance event that we've got going on next week. That should, and I'm sorry I haven't put out an announcement yet on it because I'm still not sure about the tech, but that should stream on our YouTube channel, which most of you are watching right now. YouTube.com/the transverse. Anywho, I've been sort of using all of the planning and all the time that's taken up to kind of push this down the road a little bit. I really don't have the spoons or the wherewithal to really deal with it yet, but yeah, it's it's really tough. Like you said, an incredibly difficult thing to think about. It's going to be tough for those of us that have the privilege and have the best of situations to be able to flee. And I think I mentioned it last week. I mentioned in any of these conversations that I have a huge pile of guilt of, I've been building community. I've been building organizations to help folks. Like the last 4 years of my life have been dedicated completely to helping support the trans community. And I'm going to sell everything and leave. Like, that just seems so hypocritical and to just abandon everybody. Most people are telling me that like, take care of yourself, girl, but still it's just
it
such a hard fucking
hurts.
decision.
Yeah, it does. And it's, but it is that you have to if you get any sort of emergency training, the first thing you get, no matter if it's first aid, CPR, even if you get on an airplane, the first thing they tell you is like, you have to make sure you're safe before you help anybody else. And this is an emergency situation. That's what this is. And like, I think the most fortunate thing about this is we have this buffer between like when we got the news that Donald Trump will definitely be the president to when he gets sworn in. And we had this now about 10 weeks maybe now, like until that happens. It was 12 weeks or whatever, but we have that buffer that I honestly didn't think was going to be there, because if I thought the way it was going to go down is I thought like it was Harris was going to win the popular vote by an overwhelming amount, and then they were going to dispute it and throw things to the courts, and like you weren't going to know for sure, and then we would see what happened. But like in a way, the decisive Trump victory is actually a benefit, because that gives us all time to like, okay, there's no question that this is happening. Let's just deal with it properly. But I get like the overwhelming and the feel of guilt and abandonment, because I mean I just took days off this week. I needed it. I needed time to just like sit and like not hear news and like not work and not freak out, and I just relaxed and I like did my own thing for the last like 3 days, and I put off all the work that I need to do. But like I that's it. This is it. Like now it's back to work and I have to get things ready, and I don't have a concrete plan. I got lucky. Like I have a Facebook friend that I barely knew at all that like just happened to have like fled their country because of religious persecution, and became a refugee themselves in Canada, and saw what was going on down here, and like reached out to me and was like, hey, I know what this is, like let me help you. They got helped by somebody, and in turn they decided to help me. And like, I don't know if it's solid yet. It seems solid, but that's currently my plan. I don't have any money. I've got about $1,500 to my name. I'm going to go with like 2 suitcases full of stuff. I'm going to buy a plane ticket to Toronto. I'm going to start the process of like kind of seeing about getting legal status. But to be perfectly honest, my experience with this is specifically with Canada, but I think it really does apply with most places, is you have a way better chance of succeeding at that if you're already in the place. Like if you just get there, then you can worry about staying there. Like, because if you're on the outside and knocking on the door being like, please may I come in, they're just going to say no. Like, but if you're there already, they're like, okay, well now we got to deal with this person.
We gotta
And
deal with
like,
them.
and that is actually really how it works. Like, and they're set up that way, and they have all these things. It's like, and all the things like, well, it's not that easy to get in. You're going to need this and this and this and this and this. And they do that on purpose to deter people from doing it, because that lightens the load of the paperwork that they have to do. So like, really honestly, if you're seriously considering leaving, my advice to you is to just go there. Just make, all you need is a passport and a way to get there, and just go and get there and then figure it out. And so obviously it's going to be better if you know somebody. So start reaching out. There's people all over the world on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever your flavor is, on Blue Sky or whatever. Like, there's groups, there's people. Just be like, hey, someone help, like, what can I do? And you'd be surprised how many people will chime up and say, hey, I live here, you want to come stay, let me help you. And but you have to make it, you have to put yourself out there, and you have to do that work. And it's a lot of work, and it is hard to, like, leave your possessions behind, but it's just stuff. And
Yeah.
if you stay, you lose it all anyway, and
Yeah.
you lose everything. So, like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I'm just, I see the gloom and doom, and, like, there's an element of truth that when you stare into the Palantir, remember it's Sauron that's showing you what that is. But, like, I don't know, the crystal ball looks pretty fucking dark, and I've been mostly right. So I'm doing what I gotta do, but you gotta make your own call with all this.
Get your passport, regardless
Passport.
of anything that you do from now on, whatever your plan is, all of that. I know Anastasia said I ain't never gonna move. I love the people that have the resilience and are willing to stay and are able to stay and fight. But regardless, even if that is your plan, get your passport ready so that in a pinch you can
Might
flee.
change your mind when the gun's in your face.
I have so much stuff, Alexis. I love my stuff, but yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to let it go. Ah,
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening in the chat, but I think, yeah, thanks everybody for showing up again. I am going to be doing mediocre poker after this at 2 on Pacific time. I'm still going to play poker. I'm not doing the Church of Voltec anymore, and I don't think I'm going to be posting much, if anything, in Transition Tuesday anymore, just because I've got so much shit to do. Like, once we get out of here and the three of us are all settled wherever we're going to be, like, the Transverse isn't going away. We're not going to stop doing this, but there will be a period, like, it's going to slow down for me personally. What are you going to say, Emily?
I do have to put a caveat on that if they make being trans illegal, then the transverse will quickly become illegal. So we will have to find a way to get around that, to communicate that. If it's looking that way, we'll come up with something, and
figure something out,
a different
yeah.
platform, a different way of handling it. We'll talk in code, and we'll make sure that everybody knows about it in our socials. So just know that that's a possibility as well, and know that we're going to do everything we can to continue this work, even if it's not from here. Brett Cohen, thank you so much. Like scouts, hope for the best, expect the worst, and prepare for it. I
Yep,
love it. Yeah.
absolutely. That is exactly correct. Hope for the best, yeah, but, like,
I
I don't
did say
know.
I
I
did
don't
say
see much of
passport.
that.
Passport is number one. Contact everyone you know that's not in this country.
Absolutely.
And find
Yes.
get a guaranteed couch or guest room you can stay in. Just make sure you secure that now.
Absolutely.
Those two things, and then
Even
you
if
can
you
figure it out
can't get a
afterwards.
passport in time, a real ID will get you to Canada or Mexico. Like, that'll get you across the border, and most states are supposed to have that by now. I think almost, I know California does it. So if you have an older driver's license or ID, you can just pay the $30 and have them re-up it, or 60 or whatever it is. Like, it's going to cost a little bit of money, but, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, it's nothing. Like, yeah. Um, and that's, yeah, that with that, I think we're gonna call it for the day, and we'll be here next week. And, you know,
And we'll be back on
say,
in less than an hour. I'll be there in chat, and
yeah, awesome.
it's
I'll
it's
be
a really
playing
fun
cards.
show. It's a really fun show. So yeah, come back
I'll be
at
talking through my
42
PLO.
minutes.
I will play I'll leave it here. If you want to, I'll leave the chat open for a little bit. If anyone is going to come over to Mediocre Poker, tell me what game you want me to play, because I've been playing Pot Limit Omaha, and I like Pot Limit Omaha, and I'm going to keep playing that. But if you'd rather see me play Texas Hold'em or Omaha High Low, I'll play those too. You just let me know in the chat what you want to see, and I'll do it. I'm there for you.
Love it.
All right. All right. We'll see you next week, and I'll see you all, because I know you're all going to stick around. I'll see y'all in 40 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you.